Universe Movie Reviews, where we spend money so that you don't have to.
And today we're doing a special for our top 10 movies of 2016.
Today's New Year's Eve, so why not on the last day of the year talk about our favorite movies throughout the year?
Yeah! You want to go like one by one?
Let's do the last three,
Mine 3.
your 3, and then we take turns.
Got it. So you go first.
Okay. So for mine, I have it on my phone, but obviously I'm recording with my phone. So, and this guy's going crazy. So, my number 10 movie for the year, and please keep in mind that these are just how much I enjoy them, how much I can see myself rewatching them. They don't necessarily mean they're the highest rated movies in my list, or or the best films of the year. They're just my favorite for the year. So, number 10 for me is Green Room. Green Room is a movie that kind of came out of nowhere. We saw it, and we didn't really know what to expect. And that movie was full of like thrills, and it was super, super enjoyable. For number 9, my movie is Sing Street, which is another movie that I actually got advanced screening tickets for, and I ignored it. And I am so mad at myself that I ignored those tickets, because
we didn't know what it was.
We didn't know what it was. It wasn't really marketed that well. But this movie ended up being number 9 on my top 10 list because I love it. The music in the movie is great, and I don't know if it's on her list or not, but we'll see.
We will see.
Number 8 is Kubo and the Two Strings. This has got to be probably one of my few favorite animated movies of the year, including Moana and such like that. But this one, there's so much more artistic to it that I love because of the stop motion and the emotion in the movie. I loved Kubo and the Two Strings so much.
So those are your bottom 3.
My bottom 3.
Okay, my turn. For me, my number 10 is Deadpool. I saw this movie 7 times. I'm not even kidding, you guys. 7 times. Saw it twice in the theater and like a million times at home. So
We should watch it. We haven't seen it anymore.
No, that's enough for the year. My number 9 is Captain America: Civil War. That was one of my favorite, I guess, of the Captain America, stories. I really enjoyed that one. And my number 8 is The Jungle Book. Not only was it impressive that it was all done in a freaking warehouse and everything was CGI or CG, whatever, and it looked so real, and the little kid was amazing. So that's my top bottom.
Your bottom 3.
My top bottom 3.
All right. So then,
Okay.
as for my number 6 pick,
7.
7. Sorry. I have Don't Breathe. Don't Breathe was. And I fell in love with the movie Don't Breathe just because the way that it was shot, the scenery, the actual concept of it all, and it was just a very fun movie in a horrific way. And I love that movie. So that is my numero 7.
Okay, number 6.
Number 6, we'll just do 6 and 5, 6, and then we'll do top 5. Okay. So top 5 one by one. So number 6 for me is Rogue One. I thought this would end up higher on my list like The Force Awakens did last year, but it didn't, just because there were so many good movies this year apart from the very bad movies that came this year. There were some really good movies this year, and it just happened to beat them out. But Rogue One is an excellent movie if you're a Star Wars fan or if you're like a war film fan.
Okay, so my number 7 is Green Room. We have similar movies on our list, just different orders. Like he said, it was a really good thriller. If you have not seen it, you missed out.
Yeah, we're both fans of thriller movies.
Yes, like psychological, so that was really good. And my number 6 is Hacksaw Ridge. Holy cow, Andrew Garfield did a great job of that movie. I enjoyed it from beginning to end. That was one of my favorite movies of the year.
Definitely.
Made my
great movie.
number 6 on my list. So
We should
you
probably
ready?
start it with our honorable mentions, but
It's fine. We'll do it at the
it's
end.
fine.
So now your top 5. Go ahead.
My number 5 is actually Hacksaw Ridge. This movie was just a train wreck of emotions. Like, it was just like one thing after another, and like the war scenes, I've never seen anything like that, and it's just an amazing movie that you should definitely check out. These top 10 movies you should check out, regardless.
Already, yeah. There's still time, so go ahead. Your number 4.
No, you're number 5.
Oh, sorry. My number 5 is Don't Breathe. So yeah, psychological thriller, very freaking interesting plot twist, very cool, very what is it? Original story.
Yeah.
Okay, your number 4.
My number 4 is actually The Jungle Book. She had hers a little higher on the list, but my Jungle Book's been pretty high on my list since we saw it back in April. I think it came out. That movie, I just completely fell in love with it. We've seen it several times since then, probably a couple times. But the technology, the CGI, the voice acting in the movie, the little kid, the fun adventure in the movie. The movie is just so great. Disney really knocked it out of the park with that one.
My number 4 is Arrival with Amy Adams. This was really slow. It was a slow burner, but it was, oh man, just the twist to it and like the concept of it all was really, really awesome. My number 4 is Arrival.
Go.
Now my number 3 is Sing Street. Like he said, it had a lot of original music. It was set back in the 80s. This is one that we missed early in the year, but
It's such a shame.
we're smart guys and we caught on to it. So that's my number 3, Sing Street. Your number 3?
My number 3 is Arrival. She just went over this. We have very similar tastes, except for some reason or another, movies hit us a little differently. And Arrival just kind of hit all the right notes for me. It was a science fiction movie that was a clever, smart movie that made us think. And at the end of it all, you almost didn't guess what was happening. But it was just a great movie, and the way it was shot. And Amy Adams was amazing in it, and Jeremy Renner was actually really good as a secondary actor, because I love that he never really takes away from movies when he's in them. Amazing movie if you haven't watched that. That is my number 3.
Okay.
So as far as my number 2 goes, Deadpool. As she said, we watched this movie 7 or more times. We probably lost count. And it wasn't because of her. It was because of me. I freaking love this movie. Sometimes somebody will come over and be like, have you seen Deadpool? No, we're watching it. And that's kind of why it's stacked up so much. I love Deadpool because after repeat viewing, it's still funny. It's still entertaining. The action is still fun. I don't get tired of it, and it's hard for me to say that about some other comic book movies, because I can watch them, but not as much. The fact that Deadpool just kind of brought the comic book character to life in such a perfect way just hit the right notes for me.
Yep. Okay, so that's your number 2, Deadpool.
Number 2.
My number 2 is Moana. I love animated movies. I love Disney, and Pixar, how they get you in the feels. I just love animated movies. So Moana is my number 2. Super cute. I love the original soundtrack. Again, it's like a little Frozen feel to it. But
Soundtrack is great by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
Oh man, amazing. So
Really good.
if you haven't seen that, check that out. Okay, so your number 1.
My number 1 is probably not that hard to guess, but it's Captain America Civil War. Just because Marvel did something that we probably never knew they could. And it was to bring so many characters onto one movie, and even more than the Avengers, and make it work. Make it and give everybody their certain amount of time, and nothing felt forced, nothing felt rushed, nothing felt like it was there unnecessarily. They introduced us Black Panther in that movie. They introduced us to the new Spider-Man, and it worked so great. We got to meet these characters in a movie that was already so crowded, and it worked so perfectly. This movie is actually not as fun for me to rewatch as Deadpool was, but it hits some notes that Deadpool doesn't, such as the drama behind it and the relationship between the characters, that I have to give Captain America Civil War number 1 for my year.
So my number 1 for this year is When a Monster Calls. We saw this one in
I think it's called
advance.
Monster Calls.
Oh, maybe a Monster Calls? When a Monster Calls? Shit.
Anyway, you get it.
So yeah, so we saw this in an advanced screening, and it hasn't come out. It's been a limited release, and it's gonna come out in January. So next month, I think January 6th.
To us, it kind of classifies, because not only did we see it this year, but it also got limited release in some places in December.
So
it has to count.
I count it as a 2016.
When a Monster Calls, or A Monster Calls, I think it's called, it was such an emotional, exhausting movie.
But
because
it was
we have to be honest,
amazing.
that movie was exhausting.
It really was. It took a lot of like, I don't know. It really did drain me of any
Yeah.
And the reason I like it so much is that it took me to that place. That it got me so emotionally invested and involved in each character that was in the movie. That's why it's my number one for the year. So we're gonna go ahead and jump into our honorable
Just a couple of honorable mentions that I'm telling you, she knows. I was messaging her when we were coming up with our lists, and I was so stressed. I was like, babe, I think my blood pressure is through the roof. I am so stressed. How can I pick 10 movies out of so many movies that I love this year? And we had to. So, but there's a couple of honorable mentions that I think that you should still watch.
Yes.
That probably did not make it on our lists.
Yep.
So.
Okay, so yours are.
I got a couple of honorable mentions, and I'll start by saying The Nice Guys. I'm gonna skip over the first one that I have on the list because The Nice Guys was such a fun movie that you don't really see much anymore.
And underrated too.
It's super underrated. I don't think enough people saw that movie, and it was so fun. Like buddy cop detective movies that you don't see anymore. Really, it felt like the '80s. Like it was super fun and entertaining. So The Nice Guys is definitely one that you should watch, even though it did not make it to our top 10.
The Edge of 17. It was such a fun coming of age movie that we need more of, that we haven't had in a while. I feel like Breakfast Club, 16 Candles, those were like those coming of age movies back in the 80s. We need those type of movies, like fun, feel good coming of age.
The Edge of 17, I was surprised that I was struggling to get it into my top 10 because it's not the type of movie that I feel is for my demographic. Like, I'm a guy, but the movie was so good and it was funny and it was emotional too, and I think it worked really well.
Yeah, it did. You want to do?
I am gonna choose Doctor Strange also because this is another movie that I feel like Marvel did not have to do. Like, it's a comic book character nobody really knows, and Marvel took a chance again, like they did with Guardians of the Galaxy, and they introduced us to a character that nobody really knows, and it paid off because the movie was great.
Was the next one for an honorable mention, a horror movie. The Conjuring 2. That was freaking awesome. Just as good as The Conjuring, the first one, and usually sequels aren't as good sometimes. But
I was surprised.
I really love that they showed different scenarios as well as just the main scenario, the one in England. But they did show like different ones, and they talked about different ones on there. That the two investigators, the Lori and the guy, I forgot their names, but. Awesome movie. Check that out.
Speaking of horror movies, I'm also gonna drop Lights Out. Because Lights Out was a movie that got made because a short that got released to the theater, to the interwebs, blew up, and the movie worked. I was surprised that the movie worked, but it worked. I liked it a lot. It was fun, and they kept it kind of creative, and it was entertaining.
Yeah. So now to the animated movies. Zootopia. Zootopia is a really fun, interesting, again, I use this a lot, it's very original, like the story, very original and clever in the way how they made things seem, like with the different classifications.
Clever is a really good way to put that movie, because that movie has something going for it that's so much deeper than kids will understand, and us adults, we see that, and then that's why we get entertained. And Zootopia was one that I think it was on my top 10 until they just eventually got pushed off. But this movie was actually pretty entertaining, and it has some deep meanings in it that really make it worth it.
So, Hell or High Water. That was another movie with I forget his name right now. Chris Pine.
Chris Pines.
Oh my god. This movie was kind of like gritty Texas, like modern day, how like
it was like a modern western type of movie.
And it was so interesting. It was really cool, the dynamic with the brothers, and oh man, it was.
Yeah, I think that movie had some of the best like dialogue between characters that in any movie this year. Like, that movie just worked so well because of the relationship between the two brothers, and because of what was the name of the guy? Jeff Bridges. That was the cop going after them, and the relationship between him and the other cop. And this movie could have easily ended up in our top 10 because it's just really entertaining. Although some parts, it does slow down. It takes a minute to get you involved into the characters, and I actually appreciated that.
Yeah. Another movie that we really enjoyed was 10 Cloverfield Lane. Another psychological
Psychological thriller
just
type
like
of
Cloverfield Lane was. Not the handheld first person
Good.
camera vision, which is great, but we got to see it from the point of view of someone who, like, we didn't understand whose side to take, whether what's his name? Okay, the big guy. So we didn't know
yeah.
whether to take her side or his side, to believe this old crazy guy. Like, what? Like,
the movie's good,
it's
guys.
It's a good
It's
psychological thriller.
And I think we'll finish it off with. Actually, no, we got two more just because I don't want to leave this movie out because it was completely underrated. So I am gonna pick. I know that you love that one, so I'm gonna leave that one for you. And we're back. Sorry, guys. My phone was actually recording. It actually died. So I believe that I was just about to start talking about Eddie the Eagle, because this is a movie I felt was completely under the radar of everybody this year, and it shouldn't have been, because this movie was such a feel-good movie that by the time we left the theater, I was just like, God, there should be more movies like this that you just make you happy, that you just leave. It's almost the exact opposite of a Monster Calls, because the feeling was such an uppity feeling that I really, really enjoyed Eddie the Eagle, and it sucks that it didn't make that much money, because more movies like that should be seen.
So last but not least of our honorable mentions, the BFG. It's
The
another
BFG.
animated movie. As you can see, there's a pattern with my movie selections. I really enjoyed the concept of it. It was so cute. I feel like it was like a bedtime story you can tell your kids and you can enjoy. And like, as an adult, I freaking enjoyed it, and I cried, and I was like, wait, what? Like, is this a dream? You know,
That
like,
was another one that was
so
also
creative.
pretty positive too.
And I think it obviously it is a book too that Tim
Mhm.
Burton
Yeah, the
created and made into an animated. Oh my god, it was amazing. I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with that movie.
Yeah, and we
that's it.
went to watch this just because it was a Spielberg movie.
Spielberg, sorry.
and
Tim Burton, whoa.
and it paid off, because by the time we left the movie, I was like, that was really enjoyable, and I had no idea what to expect. So
That's it.
guys, that is our top 10 and our couple of honorable mentions that we just felt we had to do justice by at least mentioning them to you. So please see all these movies. Let us know what you. I mean, you probably already saw them because they're some of the more popular movies this year. Let us know what you thought about these. Let us know if there's one of these movies that you kind of didn't even hear about, or it just went under the radar for you and you're looking forward to seeing.
So yeah, guys, Happy New Year. We wish
Happy
you
New Year.
a happy New Year, a happy safe one. So until next year.
Until next year, hopefully there's a lot more movies that make this more difficult than it was this year, because that's a good thing.
Challenge.
So,
All right, guys.
Next time.
Bye.